Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's midday weather outlook for the southern region brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. As we wind down this week of forecasting, let's just take a look at what the last 3 days have given us as that shortwave that came out of the Baja here slowly moved its way across the southeast. We can see that rainfall amounts in general range from about a ½ inch to in some locations, especially right down here in this region in Florida, we're picking up between 2 and 3 inches of rainfall as some of the heavier bands of rain kind of kept training over that same location. Well, as we see how this particular system exits, let's go straight to our high resolution NAM model and just play this out, and just to see how in the early morning hours we're going to still see quite a bit of shower activity across the southeast, and why this is going to continue here from basically Alabama, really getting into eastern Alabama up through Georgia and the Carolinas and then eventually up into Virginia, is because the moment this little shortwave gets right offshore, it's able to kind of tap into some of the warmer water here in parts of the Gulf Stream, and that's going to help it deepen. And because nothing's really here to kick this system out, we're going to be dealing with it all the way through Saturday night, honestly, right up here in coastal Carolinas. So we just step this back. Again, let's look. This is midday today on Friday, 11 a.m. As we press through the day, you can see the upper level low beginning to spin here while the surface low is out ahead of it. It's kind of a neat thing to see there, right? So you can see the circulation here, that's in the upper levels. The surface low is out ahead of it, which is very normal. And then the two features kind of stack up right there. And where are we? We're 11 a.m. tomorrow. This is Saturday. And as it sits and spins off the coast, just round after round of showers here. Could be a little windy as well in this area. Meanwhile, the rest of our southern region slides into a relatively nice weekend in terms of precipitation, and with temperatures rebounding, that's going to help with a lot of the harvest effort that's happening across our southern region, with cotton especially, and with other crops. So we just look at what we're anticipating for leftover rainfall. If you just stretch it out here for the next 60 hours or so, so this gets us out here to midday Sunday. We're looking at some locations capable of picking up an additional 1 to 3 inches of rainfall, and this will be the problem with this system as it kind of just stalls out right off the coast here, in that it could possibly produce some local flooding in this area. But after that, let's just take a look. This is the next 5 days of total accumulated precipitation. So this gets us out to next Tuesday evening, and we see that after this precipitation leaves, the stuff that's right over here, we're done. It's going to be a pattern that shuts down while we wait on this upper level trough that's spinning here now and developing off of the southwest corner of California to maybe be our next big push at seeing some significant weather. So we do have a dry down that's coming for about 5 days here. We need to see how long that lasts into the next week. So to answer that question, I'm going to take you to the upper levels of the atmosphere first, because we also need to diagnose this temperature pattern moving forward. As we play this out, we know what's happening through the weekend. That is, this low is the dominant one that we're going to have to watch sitting and spinning just off the coast, that upper level low. Now, meanwhile, what you'll notice is a little shortwave tries to sneak through in the middle of the flow right here, but this is not going to be bringing in precipitation to our southern region. This is really going to be just bringing in some cooler and some drier air a little bit farther to the north. Okay, so this, I know you say, whoa, look at that big bowling ball of a trough. Well, I'm going to show you what the temperatures are doing in response to that, because this flow pattern with this trough not really connected to the bitterly cold air like the previous one was. So just imagine with me, you don't see the cold air anomalies, these height anomalies stretching clear up into central Canada, that you will see the temperatures rebound a bit. Well, that trough, as it moves on off the east coast by next Wednesday morning, look what happens behind it. We got some ridging in here. And all of this is happening because of this wave break. We've talked about it all week. So you see the ridge is elongated and pushed in this direction, and the trough is negatively tilted and way back over Southern California. So what we have to be on the lookout for is by the time we get out to let's call it next Thursday morning, getting into Thursday afternoon and evening. Yeah, we have the rebound on temperatures, but you see this little trough that's coming through here? This could kick off a low pressure system next Thursday into Friday morning across the Ohio River Valley. And it may be able to drag a front that comes basically through parts of Missouri, Oklahoma, and Texas, and eventually through the lower Mississippi River Valley. And that may be the next time of more organized, broad scale precipitation for our southern region. But then what we're going to watch is once we get out to next Saturday, I'm on out to the 23rd here in the forecast, we will see this elongated trough feature. See this? And that's going to make this region wetter than average going into our Thanksgiving week, which is what we're talking about now. So that's the overall view of the pattern. Let's now take a look at some of the details, okay? So this is the operational European model. There goes system number 1. We talked about it. It's off, okay? Remember that little wave that sneaks through over the weekend? Remember I told you the precip was going to stay largely out of our southern region as that one goes through. So you see things remain relatively dry for most of the southern region getting all the way through next Tuesday. Now at this point, as I get out to next Wednesday morning, here we go. All right, we're now watching this shortwave sneak in this area. You can see the pressure starting to get lower here in Colorado. And as that little wave moves through, remember it's coming through Thursday morning, see it there? And then Thursday afternoon and Thursday evening. This is the one where I said as the little system goes through, potentially through the Ohio River Valley up toward the Great Lakes states, it may drag our front through us. But you still see we have higher atmospheric pressure in place here, which means overall through our next week, the southern region is on the drier side of things. And then after that, now I'm going to show you the operational model, but understand that we lose confidence once we get out beyond about day 7. We do notice that with that wave that was coming through California, bringing in that rainfall to California. See it there? As that one gets out into the plains, it does appear to kind of want to kick off a system that goes rolling through the southern region again. So again, this is now the start of our Thanksgiving week that we're talking about here. So let's just go straight to the week 2 forecast, GFS ensemble on the left, European ensemble on the right, as we always do. Now, there are differences. I want to start with the European model because we focus so much on it. Remember that in week 2, what we're watching is this pattern that's something like this, and this elongated trough is just providing some good upper level support to be bringing in wetter conditions from New Mexico clear through the southeast. The GFS is much more amplified. It wants to have a much deeper trough that's sitting here, connecting back over toward the Baja, and that's why it wants to bring a bit more of a a southwest to northeast trajectory on the precipitation, whereas the flatter European wants to just broaden it out. The GFS is much more amplified, and therefore you can see the larger precipitation anomalies. But let's get those drawings off there so you can see it again. This is week 2 comparing our models. So it does appear that as we get into the Thanksgiving week, we are looking at a wetter week for our southern region. We're going to keep a close eye on that over the weekend. Now, what are temperatures doing? Well, we're still sitting 10 to 15 degrees across much of our southern region, colder than average as we wake up on Friday morning. But playing this forward, remember I told you some moderation is coming. So this is now Saturday morning, and we see that we got some places in here that are only 5 to 10 degrees cooler than average. And then as we press through, let's take a look. Whoops, sorry, that was quick. There you go. This is now, that's Saturday morning, excuse me. This is now getting into Sunday morning, moderation beginning. This is now Monday morning. Look at this. We're only 5 to 7 degrees cooler than average. That's not the 20 degrees cooler than average we had been seeing. By next Tuesday, getting into Wednesday, we're back much closer to normal. In fact, over Texas, Oklahoma, we're back above average in terms of temperatures as we skid through the middle part of next week. So broader picture on this, over the next 5 days, we do carry the cooler bias across the southeast, but you can see the western side of our southern region starting to warm up. And both models are in very good agreement about the position of that colder air in the next 5 days. Where the divergence in the models begins to show up is a little bit in the 6 to 10 day time period. Remember, we saw the moderation occurring in our southern region, and you can see European right, GFS on the left. Overall, a similar pattern through day 10, but still, the warm-up is going to start from the west first and move to the east. And finally, this is out today, 11 through 15. The GFS, creating that much deeper trough here, wants to keep the colder air in place more than the European model. But to be honest, the differences in temperatures here are not that large. Okay, so overall, I think they've got the pattern really well honed down. Now, as we're thinking over the weekend about what the longer term holds for us, I just want to tell you about a couple things that we need to be watching. As we get through the next 10-day time period, our polar vortex is shifting. We've talked about this a lot this week, and you can kind of see it moving around here such that we have higher than average heights here and much lower than average heights here. Now, this is deep in the stratosphere. So what this is going to do, this is going to reorient where the cold air has been across the northern hemisphere, and we've talked about this. So what we notice here is that if you kind of see where that deepest trough is located, it's really setting up a lot of cold air, much colder than average air over here into Russia, for example, stretching all the way down into like Kazakhstan and over into parts of the Middle East. Now, because of that, and the fact that we are still right in through this area. This is the Chukchi Sea. That's what I just circled there, because we still have an ice-free area. That's a lot of sensible heat flux. That's where we're warming the atmosphere with the warm water that's not covered in ice yet. Until we break this down, though, until that goes away, that will not allow us to get away from our pattern that may be a bit more amplified like this. So while that happens, the North Atlantic Oscillation goes negative over here, and as a result, that's why you didn't see me advertising a big warm-up for the eastern part of the United States, at least through the end of the month and probably through the beginning of December. When the temperatures, I'll draw another arrow to it, when those temperatures change, that will give us some kind of clue as to what the remainder of December is going to look like. We need it to ice up, and ice up fast. It's very, very late in doing that. So I just want to give you a bit of that meteorology here as we look down on top of the North Pole as to why our pattern is the way it is. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up and wish you all to have a great weekend, and we will talk to you again next week. Thank you.